we want to welcome everybody and to our third episode. We made it to three without causing any damage to the internet, and no animals were harmed in the making of these episodes so far. We want to thank Rob from Photo Booth Expo last week. He was an awesome guest. We appreciate our very first guest. And tonight we have our second guest ever, which is really, really good. Shayn Satten from Milestone Photo Booths in, now you're in what, North Jersey or New York?
Central Jersey.
Central Jersey, okay. It's just Jersey, you know.
Oh, there's a difference. There is a big difference.
If you're from anywhere else in the country, there's only a North and South Jersey. When you live in New Jersey, there's Central Jersey. There's three parts of North Jersey.
Well, welcome, Shayn. Glad to have you on.
Glad to be here.
You're taking some extra time working from your office tonight. Before we get started, I did promise that we would just give a little bit of tips for our photo booths out there. And some of you probably are already doing this stuff. But, you know, when you say, what's that, Dave?
Just the tips?
Just the tips. So we've got, you know, a job to do as photo boothers when we go to an event. And one of the things that's hard, and I often get, or over here, is, oh, I didn't even know there was a photo booth there. And some of the reason for that is they stick you in a corner, or it's a really dark room. And yes, we do have modeling lights and some other lights around for the pictures itself being taken. And some of the booths out there, like for example, the Danny Max DSLR Curve and the Curve Duo booths like that have lighting built in, or that you can add and make the columns glow. Even sometimes that is something that is hidden because you may have tables in front of it, or there's a crowd. And when you're off in the distance in the room, you don't necessarily always get to see that. So some people just may not be utilizing the booth because of that fact. As you can see behind me, I've got some uplighting. We'll talk about that in a second. But some of the things that people will add on that I've seen in the past, things like such as stanchions. Like this is like PB backdrops. They've got some really cool regular stanchions available. But there's also these LED ones that light up. That's something you can add to your photo booth area that can attract bees to honey, so to speak, to let people know that there's something cool going on in the area. The other thing I wanted to talk about is lighting. Aside from just these stanchions that you can buy that really make the place look really cool, is, you know, the backdrop area. This is one of my setups that I did probably, you know, a year or so ago. And what I did was I took a picture of it without the special lighting that I added. And you can see if you just add a little bit of color behind the backdrop, that helps people know that, hey, there's something going on in that area. What is it? I want to go see it. Oh, this is really cool. Now I didn't know there was a photo booth there. You can utilize a lighting to not only make your area stand out, but match the theme of the event. So I took some extra photos here just to kind of, and I use this in my sales pitches sometimes. When utilizing uplighting, you know, a lot of people think, oh, that's something I can add on as an additional cost. Yes, you can, or you can just build it into your packages. And that's what I do. I don't do it as an add-on. I've built that pricing into my packages. So every event I've got uplighting, and it helps you stand out against, you know, some of the other competitors out there that may not have this alluring look to their photo booth setup. So just something I wanted to throw out this week. I do have. I'm going to show you guys the light that I use. This is a Rockville wedge light that I got straight from Rockville. When I post this the video to YouTube, and I'll update the links on it tomorrow. And when I do the post show recap, I'll put some links to where you guys can get this. But these are about $99 each. And if you think about it, it's like, wow, it's $99. If I pay two, I can upsell. It's the one thing that I thought about was you pay almost that for a table cover. Right, so you got your photo booth table cover, the scram that you put on a table. Do we upcharge for the table cover? No. So, but it's your business. You can do whatever you want. But I just want to say, think about not just the props. Don't think about just the booth itself. Red carpets are nice, stanchions are nice, but Maybe you want to add some uplighting to the area too. Dave, what are your thoughts on that? Or Shayn?
I also use the vertical banners,
Yeah.
the retractable vertical banners that say, hey, we got a photo booth over here, and
Mm-hmm.
and that draws people over too.
Yeah, and you can
Uh,
uplight those banners as well.
exactly. So you're adding to that. The other thing with the uplights is, when the dancing gets going, switch those over to auto mode or
Yeah.
audio mode, and just let them, run to the music and kind of have a little dance party going on, over at the booth. People are attracted to colorful things for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the bug effect, the bug lamp effect. The moths that go to the little bug zapper
Yeah.
because they see that light.
Or bees to honey, right?
Yeah, I
Exactly.
like the idea too, honestly. I mean, it's not something that we have uplights. It's not something that we usually offer with our photo booth packages. We have them for different purposes for different activations, but it's not a bad idea to start either adding that in for like, a higher end wedding, or, I know a lot of DJs offer uplighting as an additional add-on upsell.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see why it can't be also potentially an upsell. Um, because then when you have a bride calling around, the bride's going to call around and say, well, this guy offers uplights with his photo booth. Do you do that? And, you might have a differentiator. But if you include it, it could also help benefit in closed bookings as well. So, it just makes your setup look a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
So one of the things I did is I try and get, when I'm doing my planning forms, I try and get the other vendors' contact information and reach out to them.
Yeah.
You know, reach out to the DJ, reach out to the photographer, and just introduce myself, because you're making a good connection sometimes. But there's times with the DJs, I'll say, hey, do you have uplighting or whatever? You know, do you mind putting one by the booth? A lot of times DJs, they already have it in their package.
Right.
You
And
know,
some venues too. Some venues already have the
venues have
lighting. Yep.
more and more venues are adding it though.
Yeah,
So,
it's true. They
but
are.
Most in
not
New
really.
Jersey already have a lot of the DJs have lost a lot of business in this area because a lot of venues have them built in now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
But
Yeah.
very common in our area.
but I've noticed that when I go to venues, not a lot of them, like if they do have uplighting, they're never anywhere near the photo booth area. They're always out in the rest of the area,
Yeah.
and I'm stuck in this dark corner. And I'm thinking, man, what am I going to do? And I was like, I'm a DJ too. I've got these uplights. I'm going to start bringing these and including it in every package. And I up my price just a little bit to compensate for that. And I haven't had any problems at all. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people love it. It seems like I'm getting more people because I've added those lights to the setup.
And some people, oh well, won't those lights show up in my photos? Not really. If you have your flash set the correct way and you have your booth lit the proper way, when your flash goes off, um, you should be fine.
Yeah.
You shouldn't see that stuff.
Yeah,
So
the
that's
flash
just
overpowers it. So and the light is actually behind the backdrop. And if you're framing your the photographs like the way you should, where you're not framing outside of the backdrop, then it really shouldn't be an issue at all.
right. Except when you get that group of like 40 people that want to come in and
Yeah,
take a picture at the same time.
that's a lot of prints. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, that's was one thing I wanted to throw out there. We're going to try and do little tips like this every week. That was it for this week. So now let's welcome Shayn in. Shayn, let's hear your story, man. Like, so we found out you're in Central Jersey. I thought it was North, but I was wrong. You're the owner of Milestone Photo Booth Rentals. Tell us, how long have you been in business?
Milestone Photo Booth Rentals has been around about 8 years now. Originally, I was a DJ in my younger years, but I've retired from
Wait, you're
DJing
like
and
12
moved on.
now.
You're
More.
18.
I mean,
What,
come
when you were
on.
12?
We
So,
love to harass
yeah,
you.
so about 8 years ago, I started off with my very first photo booth. And I was started doing events. It was rough back then. The photo booths back then, I'm sure, as some people remember, were not what they are today, where they're nice and light and compact. You can fit like two of them in a four-door car. Back then, it was a big giant road case that I could literally fit inside of. was my first photo booth. It wasn't a name brand photo booth. It was something that was practically built in somebody's garage kind of thing. And it was like one of those old, big, giant box road case things. And I lugged that around to some events. Maybe did like 40 or 50 events that first year. And it was rough, but it was, a very good learning experience. And I used that money to put into the second photo booth.
That's a pretty good first year, 40, 50 events. That's not bad at all.
Well, I mean, I had already a lot of years in the DJ business prior to that, so I had connections. I had people who
Right.
I put the word out to. So a lot of the work that I did was not under my own brand name. In fact, the name Milestone actually didn't come into existence until maybe the second year of my photo booth business. The first year I was doing it under my old company name, and but most of the work I was doing back then was white label, so it wasn't even under my own company name usually.
Gotcha.
So that's a great segue.
Yeah.
Obviously, we asked you to be on because Art and I both know that you do a lot of white labeling for other companies. So, can you explain for some people that may not understand what white labeling is
Sure, yeah. I
and
mean,
give some background
there's
on that?
yeah. So I mean, basically, white labeling, or what I find is in our industry, there's two terminologies for this. There's white labeling, and then there's wholesale. A lot of the DJ companies, event planners consider it in their mind wholesale, but in our industry of photo boothing, a lot of us call it white label. But essentially, they are the same thing, where you are white labeling your photo booth service out and becoming the brand image of your customer. So that basically means your business won't be represented. You are not going to be providing your business cards. You won't be wearing any branded clothes. You won't have your logos or any digital imagery of your brand on the printed products that go out to the clients. You're going to basically, like for like, one to one represent whatever business you are being hired by. So if, Dave's company is hiring me, I'm going to represent Dave's company as professionally as if he were there himself. Um, so that's generally the idea behind white labeling, is that you're representing somebody else's business. And I do know that in this industry, there are some new people in the industry who some feel ashamed by white labeling, some people feel scared by white labeling, but there is no shame in a white label. And the truth is, you know, having pride in your own brand and not doing white label work for other people is basically shooting yourself in the foot. You're losing a lot of opportunity and you're missing out on chances to grow and expand your own knowledge. Um, you know, uh, if you're looking to grow and expand, white labeling is a key component that's going to help you move, towards that next level. So offering a white label, it doesn't damage your brand, basically. A lot of people think that white labeling means like, oh, well, my name's not being represented. How is this going to lead to more business for me? Well, when you turn around and those companies that you're white labeling for give you 10, 20, 30 events in a year that you're now taking into your business, and that money's basically funding your business expenses, funding your life on a day-to-day basis. You're going to feel a lot better about doing those white label jobs, and you'll have more money to spend on your own brand to increase, buy that 360 photo booth that you've had your eye on, or buy that next, backdrop that you want to get to sell to your clients. So, that's where the benefits of white labeling start to become apparent.
Well, the other thing with that, Shane, that you didn't hit on is that's money that you don't have to put out for advertising. You have
Oh,
work
yes.
coming in, and there's many
I
times when you do white labeling for one person, you can do white labeling for more than just one person. I
right.
would say, you know, personally, I do quite a bit in my area. I do a lot of white labeling for photographers, for DJs, for other photo boothers, so it's out there, but you've got to also have a good quality product,
Yeah.
and you
The
have
the
to
key
really
is
know.
the
Go
key,
ahead.
in my opinion, is that you don't have to be a master of sales. So if you're a person who is maybe not so good right now, you're just getting into the business and you're not good on the sales side of things. If you have 10 companies out there that are pushing your photo booth services, pushing your products, and taking pictures of your images, and they're sending it out to their entire client base, now you might not be making as much as if you were retailing the service yourself under your own brand name. But what you're losing in that transaction is basically the same as the cost of your marketing expenses. So you're not paying to advertise, you're not doing all the things that you need to generate that income. So basically, somebody's hiring you and they pitch the product, they close the sale, and they pay you your desired rate. So let's say your retail rate is $800, but you want to do white label work for $600. The time you're saving by not having to go out and sell that photo booth
Yep.
experience is what comes back to you over and over. And it's also a really great way to bring in additional work for your staff. So when you get to that next level, that next tier of, all right, I have two photo booths and there's only one of me. Now you're looking at how you can, um, you know, use white label work to grow your business and expand, because the more open dates you have on your calendar that you can fill with white label work, that means the more you can have a reliable staff person on those jobs, and that means they're going to be more experienced, and it also means that they're going to be more consistent, and they're going to stay with you longer. One of the biggest issues I notice with photo boothers, and one of the biggest challenges, is that a lot of photo booth companies who hire staff, you don't have enough work to keep them coming back to you week after week. You have one or two jobs for them a month.
Yeah.
So what I did when I started getting to the point where I could shift over and move things around, if I take a week where there's only one or two events on the calendar, I give those to my employees first instead of working the event myself. And when you transition into that point where you take those days off and you give that work to employees to work those events, that's when you can start heading towards being a multi-op. So that gives you the upward momentum to become a full-time photo boother. Um, and one of the other great benefits, honestly, about white labeling is that it gives you an opportunity to try out new services that you haven't possibly done before. So, sometimes you might get a call for a 360 booth, and sometimes cost-wise, it may make sense to buy a product and make sure that job gets done, and then have that service and learn that service to then sell it for your own business. So sometimes it's almost like dating a new photo experience, because it might not be something that you do before. For example, green screen.
Mm-hmm.
Green screen is really popular for our company in the mitzvah industry, and we do a lot of green screen photo booths at mitzvahs. Um, but if it wasn't for a white label client coming to me at one point and saying, "Hey, we need a green screen photo booth," that's something I may not have actually had tried, because I was hesitant at first to learn how to do that and to figure it out and get it done. And I mean, this was maybe back 7 years ago already, but it was scary, especially not having, that was before I knew about the photo booth network. Honestly, that was before I was a part of the groups and had the resources I have. But if you're here, you already have a much bigger leg up than I did when I first started, because there wasn't the community that exists these days.
Yeah, I'm doing my first day, and I've said this kind of before, where I really don't do a whole lot of white labeling. I do it for some other DJs out there. I know that they'll do it for them, but I haven't really done it in mass. And like September 17th, next weekend, is it next weekend? It's gonna be my first Saturday where all three events are white label, and so I'm a little nervous. So I've got two people out. I'm probably gonna go to each different venue with my staff just to make sure everything's going well. Did you feel that nervousness when you started doing white labeling too, sending other people out, like quality
Um,
control?
well, quality control is big, and I am the kind of person that, if you don't know me, I'm a person who gets a little stressed about making sure there's a check for every box, that everything is organized. And one of the things that's very important with you know the quality expectations is not only your own, but the person who is hiring you. So we have built into our business, we're being very transparent with the person who hires us from the get go. So we're letting them know what time we're arriving. And a lot of the white label companies, if it's your first time working for a white label company, they'll ask you sometimes for pictures of the setup. We always make that a standard that, there's 6 pictures that always are going to get taken at every event. And those are, a setup of the backdrop, a picture of the full setup, anything extra, prop table, whatever the
Mhm.
extras are, and then a test shot. That detailed readouts, testing the Wi-Fi and the hotspots, and then also a key part is your post-event content delivery. And
Yeah.
this is an essential part to completing the white label process because it doesn't just end when you walk away from that job. And this is true with regular events as well. But specifically for white label clients, they have a deadline with their client that they have to keep. So you need to make sure that when that event ends, you have a very quick turnaround time to get those pictures and those images digitally transferred to your white label client. Um, but I mean, having a conversation with white label vendors can help clear that up. And there are some companies that they just want to pass the work out and not think about a thing. And that works really well. There's other white label companies that white label work to you, and they are more detailed on what they want. So finding a healthy balance between how you can provide a streamlined service is very important.
Right. What
So
percent?
Shane,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
so you were mentioning about a checklist or things that you have prepped. Do you have a checklist that you use for your events? Now, since you have multiple booths, I'm assuming that you have something you know
We do
ready.
have for all of our employees that we train, we do have a very specific, um, you know, uh, flow chart basically of where they're going to go from the moment they leave our office with the equipment to the minute they get there and set up, what things they're supposed to set up in what order. All of those little details and writing out those processes do help with completing your white label events and also your own personal events for your own business. Um, Automating as much of your business as you can definitely helps. The less you have to think about, when you give somebody a checklist, and it's not a physical checklist, it's more of a mental checklist that they know that they have to do these things. But I mean, I could just show you on my phone. We have, a WhatsApp group chat that
Hmm.
every week when I have employees at events, my phone just starts blowing up at a certain point, whatever their setup time is around, half an hour into their setup, my phone starts blowing up with pictures of the camera settings. So like one of the things that we have is you take a picture of the camera settings on the back of the camera because that way I know what your camera settings are when you're on the job. So if I look at the test shot, I know, if you need to increase the ISO, I know if you need to change the shutter speed, um, little things like that. But I mean, one of the most important things for when you do take on your first white label client is finding ways to streamline the white label process, kind of almost like onboarding, just like you would onboard a client, just like you'd
Hmm.
onboard a new staff person. Onboarding your white label contacts is also really helpful. So making the resources available to them easily because they don't always want to call you and say, "Hi, are you available?" and ask you a bunch of questions. Do you have this? Can you do this? Can you make this happen? So having, a pricing guide that you can send out to a white label client or to another photo booth owner of what your prices would be for them. Something consistent that they can work off of where they don't have to call you. They can just go out and they can quote.
Hmm.
Um,
Be nice if you had
and
like some kind of like website that like almost like a white label website that they can just kind of like send their clients to, and it seems like it's their site or something like that. That would be
Yeah, so that's actually something that we do. It's still our main site is in development. It's an unbranded website.
okay.
It has a back end portal for the white label company that so they have a branded portal for themselves with
Oh
like
wow.
links to send their clients, and that kind of thing really does help. Um, take out some of the things that are headaches. Like, each white label client has a link to a photo booth templates page, basically, where, if you know what photo booth templates
Yeah.
are, it's a service where you can buy the design. So each company has a link to a custom, a white label domain name that has their branding on it, and they send that to their client. The client selects the photo strip, it goes right into my system, and then we get the design and we, make a few modifications, and then the client has exactly what they want. So they can offer, the DJ companies that we work with can offer a better, higher quality experience and a higher end product than if they were to do it in-house themselves,
Yeah.
which, a lot of DJ companies, when the DJ companies that do photo booths in-house, some of them, not all of them, but some of them, they'll do a very simplified photo strip. It's, photo booths are more of an add-on and less of the experience that a photo booth owner would sell. So that's definitely one of the things that they can step up what they're offering by going through you, where they can now be selling the higher end, higher, more exciting experiences.
So real quick, Shane. So this sounds really cool. So I know it's not done yet, but would you mind coming back on at a later date when you get this done and telling us more about that?
Yeah,
We'd love
absolutely. If you want, we could
that's
even take a sample brand. I could do your
that
company. We could use your
is
company as an example, and we could build out, and we could have that for the next time I come on, if you'd like. Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, like I said, I don't do a whole lot of them, but when I do, I find it's tough with the communication. So I get another DJ company asking me, "Well, can you send me, what backdrops you have? Can you send me what templates you have? Can you send me a quote?" And I feel like I'm going back and forth via text, via email, and it's kind of piecemeal. And something like what you have sounds like that would just kind of streamline and eliminate a lot of confusion and pains.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I could do a real quick of a little bit of the beta site right now of where it's heading and the direction that it's heading. If you want to see that, I can share that.
Oh, I think that would pretty cool. Let me go and I'm going to show my screen right now. Let me go to that. But I just got to change what my source is. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, you know,
I have a button here that says share screen. Should I
share
click
your
it?
screen. Hit
Okay,
that.
hold
Let's see if I get.
on.
See, we're learning on the fly here, guys. This would be really. Oh, can I see?
Oh, okay. I have to open up the tab first. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, this is Shane's site that we're looking at now. Um, Service area services, photo strips. This is a nice site. They're a long way from the big bulky booths, and now we got these really cool, fancy setups. We got traditional photo booth, express booths, glam mirror. Let's see if I
Okay.
can do this.
So I'm sharing now. So I don't.
Let's see
I'm
if
not
I'm
sure
able to
if you
do
have
it.
that.
Mm, do this. Let's go guest
Maybe
three.
you have to stop sharing your screen for it to start sharing mine. Maybe is that?
Maybe.
See, this just shows everybody that we're learning everything
We're
too doing
absolutely
this.
learning on the fly here. Let's try this one here. Bam, we did it. And sorry, Shane, we can't see your face because this is the template that I have set up for guest sharing. So this is it here.
Yeah, so this is it here. So this would be the vendor portal, basically. This is, it's basically a very simple thing where they can come in. If they are somebody that we haven't worked with before, they can click on this button, which brings them to a form. Here, I'll click on it, and it brings them to this form where they can actually request, our quick reference pricing guide, custom branded marketing material,
Mm-hmm.
recommended retail rate pricing guide. So what we charge our customers, because when you're working with some companies, you don't want to white label your price and then have them white label, or you don't want them to be charging their clients what you're charging them. So
Right.
you want your white label price to be the price for the company you're working for, not the company, not the price that they're breaking even on it and they're providing a photo booth, because that's basically undercutting your service. So one of the most important things that I always recommend to people who get into the white labeling business is make sure you have a discussion with the person you're working with, that if you guys are partnering up and you're building a relationship together, they need to be remaining consistent with your own pricing, because you don't want somebody who's going to be completely undercutting you, because that's going to take away from your business. Um, then once they've filled out that form, then anytime they come to this page, they can click here where they submit a white label request. And one of the things for a lot of white label clients is speed. Speed is very important to them. So you want something that's very simple. Please hold the date for now. The event is booked on my end or ready to book. Send me the contract. So you give them either a hold or a quote or a contract. They fill out the basic details, their name, where is it, if it's indoors or outdoors, which originally I didn't have this on the form and it led to a lot of hot outdoor events. But definitely I would recommend something like that. They can select the event type and, just a list of services that they want to select. Once we have our full site built out, it's going to be a little bit more fancy, where if you click on certain things, it's going to show pictures of the setups and pictures of backdrops. This is just where it is right now, that people can kind of get an idea.
And this
then
So Shayn, real quick, do you have a separate contract for your white label vendors?
Yeah, so we have a white label contract that's a little bit more lenient, I would say, than our traditional photo booth contract for our standard clientele and corporate clientele, just because it just gives them a little bit more flexibility and control over the event. But there is not a single white label client that I'll work with that won't sign a contract for each individual event, which personally is just a safety concern for me. If you call me up the day of your event and you say, I need a white label, this is last minute, I'm still making you come here. I'm still making you fill out that form and still going through the process. Because if you can't get through this process for me, you're probably not a good partner that I want to work with. Basically, have standards for your white labeling that you're doing. Don't just white label for any person who says, hey, I need a photo booth at this place, and take that job. Be selective. Find a strategic partnership that you can work with somebody and have a long-term relationship with them. One of the things that we have, which I will show you real quick.
I got a question from one of our viewers here.
Yes.
So with a white label, do you work with the end client to finalize experience and it makes it a little bit smaller so everybody can see? Or do you get the template from the company you're white labeling for?
Generally with white labels, it depends on who your client is. So there's two types of white label clients. I guess there's really four. There's your main targets are DJs. DJ companies are going to be a bulk of white labeling. Then there are other photo booth vendors. I'm also going to hold on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment, if that's okay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So the source number 2 is going to be your local competitors. So other photo booth companies that are in your area. Then there's other vendors and strategic partnerships like event planners. And then the final source, which may not be for everybody right off the bat, are national photo booth companies and DMCs, destination management companies, which are, they have the big events for brands like Coca-Cola and things like that. Right. Generally, your first target is going to be DJs and photographers, because having them as your core is going to build your business very quickly when you're in the early days, because for them, you're giving them a solution to a problem. Not all of them can, take on the burden of a photo booth activation for each individual wedding, each individual event. And some of the DJ companies that we work for, they give us their overflow work, because they have 2 photo booths, but they can do 10 events in a day. So, they give their additional photo booth work to us. So you're giving them a solution to a problem, whether it's the capacity to book all the services that they advertise, or taking something that people request from them and taking it off their hands so they don't have to worry about it at all. So to answer the question there about finalizing the experience, um, what we do is we do the design. We send that design template to, like for our DJ companies, we send that design template to the DJ. They send it to the client for approval, and then they come back to us for changes. So it gets to be a little bit of a middleman management
Yeah.
process there, where you have to be a little bit more hands-on when it comes to the design work. But
Well,
like when you
this,
work with other photo booth companies, in that case, the photo booth companies that, like when I white label work out to other photo booth companies or they send work to me, usually they prepare the photo strip for you. So different types of white label work is going to have different standards that you're going to experience.
will this portal kind of answer that pain point of having to send it to the DJ company, who then sends it over to the client? You just put it in that portal, and then they take care of the rest and have an approval in there.
Yeah, so at that point, the client selects their photo strip design through the portal. And then once that is done, we make the design here. We send it back to the DJ. The DJs can either approve it or they can send it to their client. It depends on the really like the DJ's process, if they want their client to have final say on it and approve the
Right.
proof, or if the DJ wants to do it. We kind of do the same thing for all of our clients anyway, so it's not too much of an additional step to include that.
Okay.
Some DJs respond right away, says it looks great, and they're happy with it, and they don't even send it to their clients. Other people do. So it really depends on their workflow. But that at that point is not on you. You're representing their business. So as far as they take it is as far as you can take it.
It's pretty cool. So you got something
All
else
right.
brewing too that you've been working on, like a
I have
turnkey.
many things.
I
Which
know you
which
have
one?
just. I mean, you're like the big, like a huge entrepreneur. This the turnkey system because you've been working with Max Design
Yes.
in terms of. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with that. So you got this long journey from DJ to working with an old photo booth to new photo booths to white labeling, creating a portal, and now you're like doing turnkey systems too.
Yeah, so that is something that I do personally. So this doesn't really involve my team of all of my employees and all the people that work with me. This is more of my own personal process, which comes down to again me being more of a stickler for detail.
Yeah.
Which it started off where I was building new photo booths for my own team, and I found a model that I really do like for my business. I find that it's very easy to set up. For those of you who don't know, Danny Max and Max Designs, they do photo booth and DJ gear. Um, but the photo booths that they build for their, at least for their DSLR and Windows-based systems, are very lightweight, no tools to assemble. So it's very easy, very simple, lightweight. So it was the perfect model for me to kind of scale my business. So I started off with, I think I started off with 2 units originally, and I've bought about 5 more since then, for my own business over time. And then I get in there and I wire them up. There's enough space in there to wire them very nicely and very cleanly. I could even go grab one of the newest unit that I just wired up for a party this past weekend. I can
Yeah,
grab it and show you guys.
that would be awesome.
Um, but yeah, so and that's so what I started doing. I talked to Danny and I said, would it be okay if I offered turnkey services? I really like building your booths, and he said, well, that's something that I don't do personally. He's very big on the design and the outside of the booth. Um, but as far as the insides go, it's a lot of fine details. So he said that if that was something that I was interested in doing, he would totally support me, and let me do that. So I have now taken on the mantle of being the exclusive turnkey photo booth builder.
Yeah.
And what I do is, there's a lot of companies out there that offer turnkey photo booths, but usually they come in pieces where they send you all of the pieces and all the parts, the camera and everything. I know, Dave, it's just mind blowing. I can see your eyes are just popping out of your head. Um, it comes with all the parts, but it doesn't come fully assembled. So you're getting a turnkey package that it's some assembly required, like IKEA, and
Yeah.
IKEA doesn't come with the greatest instructions, and neither does your first photo booth sometimes.
It's
So
meticulous.
I build them event ready. So when it comes off the truck and opens up at your doorstep, all you have to do is actually, put it together like that you would have to do for every event, and all the parts are loaded in there. Let me go grab one to
Yeah.
showcase real quick.
Yeah, go ahead and show that. So, Dave, this is some crazy stuff.
I,
I was at DJX
well,
and
that's
Shane
what I was
was,
just going to say.
yeah,
I, I was
mind
so
blowing.
impressed when we saw Shane's design that he
Yep.
put together
Hmm.
for the booth and how clean it was.
He even has a
Yeah,
place to put the lens cap, like
yeah.
velcroed in a certain spot. It's just like, and I've
Yeah.
got two of these myself, and it looks like my kids put it together. There's like cords everywhere. So
So
Shane, I'll be paying you a visit.
this is the one that I just put together last week,
Yeah,
which, as you can see, it almost looks hollow inside because
yeah.
of how cleanly the wires are laid out there.
Mine looks like a bird's
Um,
nest.
but yeah, there's places for everything. Yeah, unfortunately I just saw a Facebook comment. Somebody says that they wish I do iPads. Yeah, I don't do iPads because the issue with selling iPads is that you need your own Apple ID for the iPad, so I can't really sell it to somebody fully event ready with the iPad. I mean, I guess I could technically wire them up
Mhm.
and then just have somebody plug in their own iPad, but I mean, essentially, the wiring for the iPad is pretty much the same as the wiring for your Surface Pro. I mean, literally, it's the same exact parts. The only difference is that the iPad needs just a little adapter at the bottom to plug everything in. Somebody in the call right now, Grecia, I hope I pronounced your name right. She actually sent me a link to what a great adapter that I use. Um, it's actually this one right here. For all of those, it's called a hyperdrive.
Okay, what
Um,
is that you've got there?
this
So,
is a. It's called a hyperdrive. It's basically you plug this into the bottom of the iPad, and
okay.
then you can basically run in a wire,
Oh, okay,
Ethernet,
yeah, a hub.
and everything into this, and then you can also plug in, the camera and everything gets wired right through
And
that.
that's not
So
powered though, right? That's a non-powered hub.
this is not powered. Technically, it's not powered, but
Hmm.
technically, it is powered through USB-C, I believe. Um,
Yeah.
so what charges the iPad also powers this.
Okay, that makes sense. There's another person. Oh, okay. She's saying, and she. There we go. Love my new Max Curve DSLR. Boy, do I wish I could have sent it to Shane. It was a pain. Yep. You know what? It's all booths. They're just that's the beauty of that one, and a lot of booths out there. They're customizable to what you're liking. It seems like you've taken a lot of time. Obviously, right? I've seen the pictures of the stuff that you've done, and then when you first started too, when you first started doing this, and it's like my booth is like I can barely fit my hand in to do anything. Yours looks like you could hide like stacks of just hide away your valuables in there, and there's just so much room. It's
I need a
awesome.
machete to open my booth because when I open the back door, the jungle just falls out, and you just need the machete just to hack through everything and get it back in order.
Yeah. One of the
Wow.
things that I really was focused on with building the turnkey booth was making it as clean as possible, and everything that model that I built last week is for my own business. It's not for a customer.
Yep.
So I haven't labeled it yet, but once it gets labeled, all the ones that I build for customers are fully labeled, where it has, where everything goes, where what each piece is. That way, when you're on an event, and let's say you're on an event or your employee's on an event, if you know where things are and they know where things are, you can have a backup bag, an oh shit bag, basically, of spare parts for everything, so you can easily swap them out. And that was one of the most important parts of building the booth, was making it super easy to swap out a part and
Mhm.
replace a wire on the go without stress, that you knew that you could have a backup. You could easily identify if something wasn't plugged in or if
Yep.
something was loose. Um, it's very easy to troubleshoot. The cleaner your booth is internally, the easier it is to troubleshoot when something goes wrong inevitably on a job. So that was the theory behind building and doing the turnkeys that I do.
Yeah, wonderful work. Absolutely amazed. So thanks for showing that, Shane. Well, guys, we're about 45 minutes in. Dave, Shane, do you guys want to highlight anything else before we cut loose on this show for tonight? A great week.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
wanted
want
to
to, oh, Dave
go
first
ahead,
this time.
Shane. You are our guest, please.
Sure. I want to say that I am really enjoying Photo Booth Magazine. I am really enjoying the talks each week, and I'm looking forward to a lot more. And I am also happy to be on again anytime that you want me. This was a fun call, and hopefully we'll get to do it again soon.
Yeah, we've got a lot of information. Shane, you're awesome, and definitely going to have you on again, especially when you get that portal built out some more. For anybody who's looking for information on Shane's Turnkey, what we're going to do is tomorrow I'm going to post all the links and stuff like that on YouTube. So make sure you go to our YouTube channel as well as the blog and the website to make sure everybody has all the information. Everybody who is interested in the turnkey solution, they can go straight to you and talk
Art,
about.
What's our YouTube channel?
YouTube channel. Well, let me just show you. You can easily go to Photo Booth Magazine, and
Photo Booth Magazine on
there's a
YouTube.
link right there. You just go right here, and you click on here, and here's our YouTube channel. And look, we're
And
live
look,
right now on YouTube.
so please, and what we're asking anybody who's watching tonight, please go on our YouTube channel and like and share it in wherever you can, because I mean that helps us. I mean we're not anywhere near like the YouTubers that are out there, but you know what? Every little bit helps, and it'll help us in the long run bring more content and some things. We've got some amazing guests lined up over the
We
next
do.
couple of weeks. Art,
Yeah,
should
I
we
do.
tease a few of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So next week we're going to have, and I've got a card for him, Mr. Ed Altunian. He is the DJ guy. He's actually from Michigan, but he's also a very interesting story we're going to hear about. He's the creator of Backprop. So it is a really neat device that, so when you've got a pillowcase backdrop from wherever you get them, it helps it stand up and be secure in the wind outside, because it's those things can easily topple over without the proper support. Shane, before we got on, you told me you have
Yeah.
one of those.
I can vouch it does work when you do an outdoor event. I mean, unless you're facing maybe Oklahoma winds. Other than that, yeah, it really does the job. It stands up, it stands firm. The only thing that gets confusing is when I'm trying to explain to my employees the back prop, and they're like, backdrop, and then they're like, wait, the props? And then it gets very confusing with the name. But other than that, it definitely gets the job done for what it serves its purpose. I just wish it was easier to explain in conversation.
Yeah,
Just call it
so
the backdropper proper upper.
The clicker picker
We're
upper.
going to rebrand it Backdrop Support System.
Oh, well, we'll find out. We'll talk to Ed next week about that and see what his thoughts are. But I think it's a good name. We also have Jordan St. Jacques. Hopefully, I pronounced that right, Jordan. We're going to talk about some SEO. So if you guys are at PBX or even at the DJX, so he speaks a lot about SEO and has a lot of good tidbits. He's more advanced. I also spoke at PBX this past year about some basic stuff that you can do, and I've helped you out, Shane and Dave, with some of the simple things, and it's helped. But Shane, yours is a little bit more complex, where you probably need a little bit more advanced stuff that I would actually refer to him for some of the more complex SEO stuff. There's basic level, and then there's that it's out of my wheelhouse level. So that's where we bring him in. James Trivelis is coming on. He's going to give us a walk through some curative stuff. We're going to bring on Rachel Lynch as well. She's got a really interesting story of like how DJs who don't have photo booths get into photo booths and how they can make some extra money and get into it. Because some of our audience, like yourself, actually yourself, myself, Dave, we were all DJs before we got into the photo booth. So she's going to come and tell her story on that. And then even cooler, we got Rex Swang coming in. He's going to be talking about 360 photo booths, and a topic that I always see on the Facebook groups is wireless printing. A lot of people don't quite understand wireless printing from an iPad. So he's going to come on and give us a really good tutorial and talk about how it is and the different devices out there that enable you to do that. So that's what we got coming up, Dave.
That's awesome. And you know, if there's topics that anybody would like to see, please feel free to message Art or myself. You can do it through either the Photo Booth Magazine group or, you know, anywhere on Facebook if you see us, or YouTube, or, you know, if you're walking down the street and you see one of us, you know, just walking by.
One of the expos, conventions.
One of the expos. I mean, we're always looking for good content. We're looking for ideas that, you know, we can help elevate our industry. You know, we're here to build everybody up. I want to see everybody making millions of dollars every year. I know it's not going to happen, but listen, if we can help you make a little bit of extra money and it helps you out, that's really what our goal is.
Yeah. So Shayn, thank you very much for coming. We'll see you again soon. And I just might have to take a drive to New Jersey with my booth because I need some wiring help.
I'll take care of you, Art.
Yeah,
You got
Dave,
it.
awesome. I will talk to you guys soon, and thanks everybody. We'll see you guys next week.
We'll see you next week.
All right.